Before I begin, I have a confession to make. I am a selfish man. I think about myself first. I put my needs first. I, I'm an animal. And interestingly enough, we are all animals, every single one of us. 50,000 years ago, our ancestors lived in caves, struggling to survive. But they survived because their animal instincts, their self-preservation instincts, helped them to survive. Now look at us. We're still animals. Yet those same selfish instincts that helped us to survive as cave people hurt us today. They hurt us in our marketing. They hurt us as people. They just hurt us. And unfortunately, we're all animals, which means we all have selfish instincts. So when I ask the question, are you selfish? Nobody in here wants to say they're selfish, but I'll tell you, I'm selfish. I have children. They're definitely selfish. We're all selfish. We're hardwired for survival. It's not your fault. But these selfish instincts will hurt you in your digital marketing. Now, if you're not sure if you're selfish, let me point out some things that we may have seen. And maybe someone in this room has done some of these. So we're at a conference and you've met people. And how many of you would be willing, and I'm not asking you to raise your hands, I'm not doing that to you, but how many of you would be willing to admit that you just met somebody and you already forgot their name 30 seconds later? Yeah, I know. You didn't have to, but that's nice. Thank you. Here's the thing. Some people are really good at remembering names, and some people are just memorable, all right? And they'll be remembered, no problem. But we don't remember names. Or how about this? This one drives me nuts. You're talking to somebody, and they immediately pick up their cell phone and they start texting, or worse, they start talking. My daughters do this. Drives me insane. Basically, what they're saying is whatever's on the phone is more important than whatever you have to say. It's rude and it's selfish. Now, this next one, normally, this happens on a plane. This didn't happen when I came here this time. But usually there's somebody on the plane that when they land, we haven't even made it to the gate. Hello, I've landed. Yeah, I'll be at the in 5 minutes. Yeah, no, maybe 10. Can you hear me? Seriously? Now, in fairness, I will tell you, at the hotel, there was a guy. We were having dinner. A couple seats over. He was talking to somebody. The entire freaking restaurant heard his conversation, and it wasn't interesting. People are selfish, and this is one of my pet peeves. I love these people when they get on the plane, and they come in, and they immediately put their suitcase up. Are they sitting there? No. They're now marching down all the way to back because God forbid their luggage isn't in a bin so that they can get to it. People are selfish. And I'm sure you all have other examples of how people are selfish. We're hardwired that way. We can't help it. Everybody's selfish. You know, if you think about it, these are animal instincts to fulfill our own interests. It's how we survived. We talk about ourselves. How many times, well, in this conference, you talk to somebody and someone says, well, I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I'm really good at this. Did they ever ask you what you do? I try not to be that guy. So we're bad listeners. You know, we forget names and faces. We are generally selfish. So with that said, there was a psychologist, Maslow, who created a hierarchy of needs. And let's see if my pointer works. Oh, let's see if that was stupid. So don't do that. There's the pointer. Okay, good. So at the bottom of this are the physiological needs: sleep, air, food. Now, what's interesting about all of these needs is they can take precedence over one another. When you're hungry, you start to eat. But while you're eating, suddenly you get thirsty. And you're not as hungry, but thirst is more important. And then maybe you don't make it through the meal because you're tired, so you want to go to bed. Needs change in their priority over time. On the other hand, at the very top of the pyramid is self actualization. This is where people give to charity and try to do things for other people. But I will tell you, as sad as this sounds, that even at the top of the pyramid, we're driven by selfishness. So, for example, and I like to think I'm a good person, I am on the board of directors for a charity that helps people who are struggling with mental illness. And I spend a lot of money and time helping these people. We have 3 locations in Florida, and we're building multi-million-dollar housing for people who are struggling with mental illness. Now, why do I do that? Is it because I'm a good person? Well, I'd like to think that. But here's the thing. The reason we do charitable acts, the reason we do nice things for people is because of how it makes us feel. It either is assuaging some guilt that you have that you feel like you have to do something for somebody else, or you get some endorphins because you're feeling good. I know that sounds terrible, folks, okay? But everything we do is driven by the chemicals and in our body. We are animals. You're going to get tired of hearing me say that. So digital marketers are selfish. Everybody in this room, well, maybe not Sylvie, but everybody else in this room, okay, is selfish. And here's the thing. They don't know it. They maybe haven't accepted it yet. They're not bad people. You're not bad people. Anyone here think they're a bad person? Good. No hands went up. Well, that would scare me. So here, why are people doing selfish things? You know, they forget the visitor. Now, here's the beauty of everything we're going to talk about today. If we can accept the fact that we are all animals and that we are selfish, so are your visitors and your clients. And once you understand their selfish motivations, guess what? You can appeal to them and make this something that works for everybody. So they forget about the visitors, all right? They center their strategy about what they want. I want to sell more of this. I want you to subscribe. If, for example, on a SaaS site, we've all been to SaaS sites. And what's the call to action? Get a demo. Nobody wants a freaking demo of your product, okay? I promise you they don't, okay? What they want is they want to solve whatever problem they have. The demo just is a way to get there. And we've got examples of how you change the CTA and it makes it work much, much better. So they're only trying to do the job as best they can. But the problem is you've got things like gated content. You know, gated content with form fills. So how many, I will ask this question. How many fields does it require to download a PDF? Anybody? 3? 1? I would argue 0. Because here's the thing. Do I really need to have I'm doing this. This looks really good on camera, doesn't it, guys? All right, so you don't really need any. So that would invoke the principle of reciprocity. If you give somebody some content of value, and in that content, you have a link to get more information from them, they will trust you. Because I will tell you, when you ask for fields on a form to download content, you start getting Yahoo email addresses, Gmail addresses that they never use, phone numbers that aren't real, okay? Because these people don't know you, they don't trust you, and at this point, they don't like you. But instead, if you provide something of value to them, guess what? At the next stage where you say, would you like more information about whatever it is, they're going to give you a real email address or a real phone number. It invokes the principle of reciprocity. So, too much content on a website. This is another one of my favorites. We always have clients who say, well, we need to tell them about this. Why? All you need to tell them is what they need to know. This reminds me years ago when I was in a sales meeting. I was a systems engineer. This is a pre-sales support person. I was technical. I did real work instead of speaking for a living. And the salesperson said to the client, how's this going? All good. And then he turned to me and says, Marty, tell them about whatever. So I told him about whatever. And then he said, Marty, tell him about whatever the next thing was. This went on for 2 hours. And I started saying, and I'll never forget this guy's name, Ray. They pretty much got everything they need. So, guys, you all ready to move forward with us? Yes. Marty, tell them about this. Are you kidding me? They're ready to sign a contract. Okay, stop just throwing up on people with every possible thing you want to tell people. It doesn't make any sense. And then people focus on the products and services they're trying to sell, not on the visitors. And then they try to upsell. All of these are selfish. So why? Why do these things happen? Well, they happen for a couple reasons. One is there are business owners, or what I like to call the hippo, the highest paid person's opinion. They have an opinion and they've got a vision for the way things are supposed to be. The problem is there's a fine line between vision and hallucination. Vision is based on reality. Hallucination is based on I don't know what. And so we really want to make sure that whatever we're doing is based on the visitor, and whatever the visitor does leaves clues, and we'll talk about that later. And the other thing that we do is we overuse marketing tactics. Well, this worked before, so I'm going to do it again. Oh, and it worked again, so we keep doing it, and we stop innovating. And slowly but surely, our revenue, our leads, our subscriptions, whatever we're doing, start to slow down. So at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's about the visitor, okay? To me, it's a win-win for everybody when you focus on them. So this is the most important slide in the deck. The most important slide. Why? Because when you align the visitor intent with your goals and their experience, in the middle is where the money is. That's where the subscriptions are. That's where the downloads are. That's where the sales are. That's where the leads come from. It's all about that alignment. Nothing else matters. In talking about alignment, I think we can all agree that the most self-centered page on any website is the About Us page. It's where most people do what I jokingly refer to as the opera school of marketing, which is me, 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 I don't care about you, it's all about me. I can't sing. But anyway, this was the before on an About Us page. And we turn that into this. And I'm going to blow it up in the next slide. But what happened here is on their About Us page, this company does 9 figures in revenue. And just changing their About Us page generated an additional 7 figures in revenue per year. Well, how did it do that? If you notice this, and I want you to imagine that you're now a woman in Australia, and you come to this page and it says flattering, safe place, your friend in fashion, feel confident, look your absolute best. How do you feel? Now, the words are all still me, me, me words, but we made it about the visitor. So what happened? People signed up for their Facebook group. People signed up for their email campaigns. They track everything. It generated millions of dollars in revenue off of their About Us page. How often do you hear that? It's all about the visitor. So what are you going to learn today? Today we're going to talk about how to grow your business by lowering your marketing costs. How often do you hear an agency say that? How to focus on your prospects by asking 3 questions. We're going to delve into those 3 questions. And what can easily be improved on your website. I'm going to give you specific things you can do when you leave. All right, let's first understand the economic value. So, what's a sale worth? And this is true for leads, sales, or whatever it is. But for the sake of argument, let's say a sale generates $1,000. It takes 100 visitors to get 1 sale. The value of a visitor is $10, okay? And you've got a 1% conversion rate. So if you want to generate $1 million, whether it's a month or a year or whatever it is, right, you need 1,000 sales. Pretty straightforward stuff. So what if you wanted to increase your revenue by 50%? What do most people do? Well, I'll tell you what people do before they come to us is they go, you know what, we're going to advertise more. So if for the sake of argument, and let's say they were selling, an information product, so there was no cost of goods sold. So these numbers would vary based on the industry, right? But if they were spending $500,000 to make $500,000, if they increased their ad spend by 50%, they are now making $250,000 more, whether that's per month or per year. That sounds pretty good, right? But here's the thing. They also spent $250,000 more. So if instead of changing the ad spend, if instead they changed the conversion rate to make the site more persuasive, to make it about, guess what, the visitor, and the conversion rate went up by 50%, now instead of spending all that extra money, that just drops to the bottom line. This is what we're going to talk about today, is how to do that option number 2. So what are the 3 critical questions that everybody asks when they land on a website? The 3 critical questions are, am I in the right place? How do I feel about this site? And what am I supposed to do here? Now, I'm going to exaggerate those. Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this site? What am I supposed to do here? Those are very self-centered questions. Why? Because your visitors are selfish animals. They want those answers. Otherwise, they're going to leave. So let's take each one. Am I in the right place? Well, you want to match the intent, with the visitor's expectations. You don't want to make the visitor think. Because here's the thing. And you'll hear me say, you don't want to make your visitors think a lot. But if this is, the gas tank of patience in my brain and this is full, okay? You don't know before I come to your website, did the dog pee on the rug and my patience is here? Did I fight with my spouse and my patience is here? Did one of my kids, oh my God, where's my patience? You have no idea what mood I'm in before I show up to your website. You can't hope that the people are like happy and full of patience. So don't make me think, because you're going to frustrate me and I'm going to leave. Now, how do you align this? So here's an example of, am I in the right place? The question was, or the search was, solitaire diamond rings. Solitaire diamond rings were promised, and then this is what we got here. Now, I happen to know what a solitaire diamond ring is now, but I tell you, a lot of people, when they're buying a ring for their partner, wouldn't know what a solitaire diamond ring was if it bit them in the butt. So instead of doing this, why not do something like this? Solitaire diamond rings were asked for, solitaire diamond rings were promised, and guess what? Solitaire diamond rings were delivered. And you know what? I didn't have to think about it, did I? And that's one of the simplest ways to increase your conversion rate. By whatever you promise, you actually deliver it. So, the second question, how do I feel about this site? Well, you want to have a well-executed design. You don't want to look like you're from the 1990s, okay? You want to have social proof, security seals, and so on. So here's an example. Ace is a major brand in the United States. And where's their trust on here? Nowhere. Here's a competitor of theirs. And this is filled with trust. First off, up in the top right-hand corner is a phone number. And I will tell you, phone number is the largest trust symbol on the face of the planet. We've tested it, I can't tell you how many times. In the desktop, it's in the top right-hand corner. Anywhere else, if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. And in mobile, it's the click to call icon, and that increases trust, which increases sales. And while it used to increase phone calls a lot more, it's increased phone calls a lot less because people don't like to make phone calls. But in addition to that, on this page, you'll also notice they've got some 4-star reviews. Actually, I have to go back, because on this one, they have a 4-star review, but they got 0 reviews, so apparently they lied to me. So I don't really feel good about that at all. All right. And then if I go a step further, believe it or not, we've done a test here on this, and it was on this site, by having a price where people could say, oh, this is affordable. It increased the conversion rate by 15%. And interestingly enough, not all those people actually use the payment option. It increased even the credit card sales. It's another form of trust. It answers the question, how do I feel about this site? And there's a couple other trust things in here, like their plan and so on. All right. What am I supposed to do here? How many of you have been to a website and you have no idea what they do? And you're looking at it and it's like, oh my God, so what is this? Yeah, right? I mean, and how annoying is that, right? So visual attention directs the visit, visual emphasis directs the intention, and you want to make sure that everything is clear. So if I look at this example, and this one actually breaks my heart. This was a client of ours that we turned them from this into this, and it became a massive, massive conversion site. They since sold the business, and we had access to it doesn't look like this now. The new owners changed it, and they're getting 10% of the revenue they used to get. Okay, which is, I mean, how do you do that? Come on. But anyway, why does this work? Okay, what am I supposed to do here? Well, we ordered these by, okay, the things that people are searching for. Why am I here? If we just go back to the previous, what do they sell? I don't know. They sell knives and they sell like coffee cups or something. I don't know. Versus here, it makes it really clear. Now, a couple bonus thoughts here. One is these are category level images. So we've got bakeware, we got rectangular, square, and round. We've tested this, and I think the technical term for this is going to sound batshit crazy. But the reality is when you just put up like a square bakeware, there are people who will go, oh, they only sell square bakeware. This doesn't work for me. Are you kidding me? But we've tested it. And so by putting up category level images and sub-level navigation, it increases the conversions because people know what they're supposed to do there. Pretty straightforward. So in summary, and I'm just going to say this, don't make people think. Build trust. Answer the 3 questions. Make people feel good about it. Make them be able to find what they're looking for in a very easy way. So let's apply the 3 questions now. All right, 3 things we're going to talk about: removing rotating banners, displaying visual navigation on homepage, and placing trust symbols in the header. So why? Motion is distracting. So I'm going to go back to, we are animals. And in the old days, motion was a danger signal. It's like, oh my God, is the bear coming? Eat me, bear, or was an enemy tribe coming to attack? So whenever something moves on a website, and we've tested this, whenever something moves, you're distracting people and they're going, what's that? What's that? I'm exaggerating, but it lowers conversion rates 8 to 12%. That has never failed. And rotating banners have a bad habit of pushing content down. So how do you measure success? Now, we used to say bounce rate, and then we went to engagement rate with GA4, but now we can get bounce rate again. So I'm going to go back to bounce rate. By removing distractions, right, you're going to reduce the bounce rate, increase the engagement rate. You'll see more pages, and your conversion rate should go up. Now, I'm going to point out something on conversion rate. You'll notice it says macro and micro conversions. You may hear that a few times. A macro conversion is I buy something, I subscribe to something, I fill out the lead form. A micro conversion is one step further in the process. So depending upon your volume on your site, you might have to track micro conversions as opposed to macro conversions to get to where you need to get to. All right, so here's an example. This would rotate. I have no idea what they do. I have no idea where the calls to action are. And we turn that into a high converting site. Is there any confusion here whatsoever about, what it is they're supposed to do here? No. It answers the 3 questions. Am I in the right place? How do I feel about the site? And what am I supposed to do here? I'm not hunting around like I'm lost in the desert for 40 years. It's really clear what it is I'm expected to do. So visual navigation. Here's another one. Why? Well, I kind of showed you that in the example with the kitchen appliances, but here's another example. We first measure it the same way: bounce rates, time on page, conversion rates. Well, when I first saw this site, I didn't know this was an e-commerce site. I thought this was a blog. And we turned that into this, which increased the conversion rate by 277%. Because it's really clear what it is I'm supposed to do here. And it all answers all the questions. Navigation, calls to action are presented and organized to match the visitor intent. I don't make anyone think. It's well executed. It's got the visual emphasis. It's got all the things I need to be able to move on in the process. Place trust symbols in the header. Now, same issues: bounce rate, time on site, and conversion rate. But before I show this next slide, I have to do a little bit of a disclaimer, because this is a very old example. I've been with the company 20 years. The company was founded in 2002. I bought the company in 2019, and we don't take on clients like this. If it falls into what I call the ew category, we don't take them on as clients. You all worried about what I'm going to show you now? Yeah. All right. So weight loss diet pills. I'm sorry, we don't do this anymore. Okay. This is kind of ew to me. But believe it, and I don't even think they exist anymore. But I will tell you, we took this and we turned them into a conversion machine because, and it's a good thing you're all sitting down. All right. You'll notice up in the very top in the header, it says 233,000 plus customers, quality guaranteed, formula in the US, call with a phone number, right? Now, here's the thing, we never lie. You just don't lie. But we made up all of those trust symbols. They're all true. You know, they had over 233,000. You know, it's formulated in the US. You can call. The conversion skyrocketed. And now, why do we put trust symbols in the header if we can? Well, on a site like this, you do it because from an SEO perspective, you don't control where someone might land on a website. So you want to make sure that those trust symbols are front and center. All right. Again, we don't take on that kind of client anymore. So let's talk about putting it all together. So let's talk about using comments. So, and this is where I started using some examples from across Europe because everything else was American, and I don't want to be the ugly American. All right. So here's the live site. One of the things that we've learned over the years is that when we tell clients what to do, they find new and unique ways to come up with bad ideas. And I remember one guy who said to me, well, you said to do this, so we thought this would be even better. No. So one of the things we do now, and one of the things, and whether you're working with an agency or even in-house in a team, and whether you're using Figma or Ruddle or Markup.io or whatever you're using, okay, you want to add comments. You want to put it in writing as to what it is you're doing, you know, in the scheme of things. By putting what's in writing, it makes it so much easier for people to truly understand, oh, this is what you meant. And all of these tools, you know, allow you to actually put markers to show where it is you're asking for the changes. Here's another example. And again, oh, by the way, some of these have the English translation, right? So they're in other languages. And we all know that the translation from Google, it probably doesn't actually say exactly what's on here. So we have to be somewhat realistic. All right. So again, with the comments up here. And so if we look at these, we're saying, you know, things like, you know, without my glasses, I can't read. All right. So under the tagline, yeah, so here's a quick tip. Under the tagline, so it's alza.hu, so it's a Hungarian site. We always tell people put 3 to 5 to 10 words underneath there. Well, why? Because again, from an SEO perspective, you have no idea what page somebody's going to land on. And because people read top left to bottom right, by putting that in, it will actually tie in the entire website, no matter what page they land on. And now we're going to go into a little bit more detail. Creating wireframes. This is the live site. This is the translated site. And are they really giving me any reason to want to buy or, you know, to subscribe? And when I look at this, and we create a wireframe, and we always like to do wireframes, by the way, as opposed to going right to design, because when you go to right to design, you always have the conversation about what color is the pretty button. Stop, okay? The more important thing is, what is the flow? What is the business logic on the website? What's actually going to make a difference in the conversions here? So if you look at this, this pulls in all the things that we've talked about. Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? And what am I supposed to do here? Okay. So if we look at this, we've got subscribe, read, watch, and listen to unlimited quality news and entertainment. And we've got check boxes here. Now we've tested this. When you put bullet points down, people go, oh, here's our stuff. But check boxes, and this works in every country, oh, that's good stuff. I know that's crazy, but check boxes for those kind of things matter. All right, we've tested this over and over again. And then we've got a trust area. So you want me to do this over here, the subscribe. So we've got the trust here. that lets me know what it is that I should feel good about. Remember, not only am I in the right place, because I get that, how do I feel about it? Well, it's a trustworthy site. And what am I supposed to do here? If they're confused, they really shouldn't be a client. All right, as we move down the page, you'll notice that there are less conversion elements here, but we're now letting people look at what is got more content on here, and then there'd be another bite at the apple. If we look at the existing site, the original, okay, or the translated site on mobile, because this stuff works on both desktop and mobile, all right, and we turn this into this, you'll notice what we've done. Now, you'll notice these buttons up here. Nobody in their right mind thinks that pressing a small button on a mobile device makes any sense whatsoever, right? I mean, I can't do it. I got fat fingers. So what do we do instead? That actually drops down the entire menu. All right. Now, if you look at why should you buy from me, and then above the fold, we are already starting with the calls to action. Fair enough? And then as we scroll down, there's more trust, there's subscribing, and there's what you can get for those who want to read more. Here's another site. This is the translated version. Um, I'm sorry, I didn't set my timer. How are we doing on time, if I may ask? Oh, we're good? Okay. So if we look at this from the after, here we've got underneath affordable paints, polishes, and resurfacing tools. Remember we talked about am I in the right place? By having that right underneath the logo, again, no matter what page I land on, I'm going to know exactly how we're doing. You know, we're going to know what we do, and it doesn't matter what page. And then instead of a rotating banner or anything like that, we have a value proposition on the homepage that talks about what we're doing and why you should buy from us. Now, I'll go a step further. View products and view services. You'll notice the now has a trust bar underneath here. Now, we need to talk about calls to action and trust. Whenever you have a call to action, and again, we've tested this, I can't tell you on how many thousands of sites. Whenever you have a call to action, you want to have trust either right under it, right next to it, right above it, but right by the call to action. Because if you want them to take that action, they need to feel safe doing it. Now, we've all heard of something called banner blindness, all right? There's also stage blindness. But in addition to banner blindness, there's something called trust blindness. Now, what is trust blindness? If I use the same trust over and over and over again as I move down the page, I'm going to start to ignore it. So what you need to do when you move down a page is you need to change the trust up. And so you could have trust symbols. You could have a trust statement, like, join 1,000 users who do this every day. That's a trust statement. You could have testimonials. You could have reviews. You could have the star ratings. And as you move down the page, they change. Because again, if you have the same one over and over and over again, what's going to happen is I'm going to be bored. I'm not going to pay any attention to them, and I'm going to ignore it. As we move down the page, we then can explore by industry, okay, as opposed to by product. See, this is the kind of thing that you need to test. Now, I'm putting this up here. By the way, this is not a client. This is just something we did for the conferences, right? So if we were working with them, we would say something like, well, we need to test, do the products come first? Do the services come first? Do the industries that you serve come first? Okay, we don't know that. But that's the kind of thing you test because, again, at the end of the day, it's not about the company, it's about the visitors and what gathers the best conversion rate. And so you'll notice here, okay, we've got, some trust. We've got this here. Not sure where to start. Start here. But right underneath there was, as we scroll down, and you can't really see this, but 4-star Google reviews, and you notice there's a different kind of trust now. And that was right below it. It's just I chunked up the slides, okay? And so we've got explore services versus explore products and so on. And then we might explore it by brands. This is another way to do this. Okay. Again, we don't know these people, so I don't know what should be in the right order here. This is where A/B testing comes in handy, right? Because your visitors will tell you what the right answer is. But this is a starting point, and it's way better than where they started. And then you'll notice under view all brands and all the shop by categories, you've got supported by IT systems, flexible, friendly employment. Those are trust statements. Even though they may sound like there's something else, how does that make you feel? What feeling does it evoke? Right? It's all about making the people feel safe. We always, this is going to sound, I hope this doesn't sound too American, but what I say to people is you want to give your visitors love. And I'm dead serious when I say that, okay? You want to make people feel loved. You want to make them feel safe, okay? If you've ever bought like a used car, and you go into the car dealership, they don't listen to you and they're high pressure and they're just I remember taking my daughters to buy their first car and the salespeople just ignored them and they talking to me. I'm like, no, this is my daughter's car. You need to talk to her, right? I'm like, we're leaving if you don't talk to my daughter. Okay. It's really that simple. And we actually left a few dealerships because they didn't care. It was all about them. All right. Versus you go into a BMW dealership or a Mercedes dealership, that, trust me, they give you some love. Okay. So it's all about having that concierge feeling on your website so that somebody feels good about your website and what it is you do. Now, same thing is true on mobile. This is not just a desktop only. No, although frankly, I'm guessing their clients are probably mostly desktop. Um, but if this is the translated, this is what we turned it into. Okay, and you'll notice on here, okay, we've got. I mean, you can see the whole page when it goes down, but we've got the click to call icon. All right, we've got what they do. We've got the check boxes. We've got the view products. You'll notice we've got the trust right underneath it. Now there is a difference. There are some differences on mobile versus desktop. So for example, on the desktop version, there were more trust statements. So we minimized the number of trust statements on the mobile because, again, real estate is valuable on a mobile, but it works. So with that all said, all right, as we move down the page, we've got explore products, all right, versus things like, uh, you know, actually, let's talk about explore. Just a bonus, a tip. How many of you seen the call to action, learn more, right? Yeah. Well, I don't know about here, but Americans are lazy. Learn implies school. School implies work. We don't like to do that. Discover and explore are much better words. Now that does translate to some extent, across cultures. Having said that, I will tell you with in English sites, you can't take a site in the United States and plug it into England. It doesn't work. And we've tested sites in the United States, England, and Australia. And here's the difference. Americans, we live in the world of instant gratification. We don't want to read anything. We don't want to learn more. We just want to buy something. The English, on the other hand, want to read every freaking thing about your product you could possibly have. These people are so annoying. All right. So you actually have to put lots of content for them. Now, I'm not saying just spew it at them, give them a path to go down. And the Australians, the good old Australians, they're firmly right in the middle. They want more content than the Americans, but less content than the English. So there are cultural considerations when you're designing these things, and this is where testing comes in. All right. So explore is really good. All right. We'll continue now and talk about design changes. So here's an example. This was a site. By the way, are you guys familiar with any of these sites that I'm pulling up, or these are? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So I try. I try to localize. All right. All right, so this is the original, and I looked at this. And by the way, I can tell you that, assuming that these people are a brand, brands can get away with things that non-brands can't. But just because they can get away with something doesn't mean that they shouldn't do it right. So this is the translated version. And again, I don't know that the translations are good in here, but we turn that into this. All right. And again, they're not a client. We just did this. All right. Search for the best deals on online stores. Notice that we want you to search for a product. Notice there's trust right underneath it. Over 100,000 products, fresh goods every day, This is a trust bar, okay? And then look we've got our office here. Want more amazing deals, okay? So that's what their site should be as opposed to what it is. All right. And you scroll down the page, you'll notice that we've got the categories. And then underneath the categories, we've got subcategories so people know where to go. Again, don't make me search on your site or struggle on your site to find what it is I'm looking for. If we look at the mobile version of it, and I'm sure people buy from them mobile, but we turn that into this, okay? If you look at this, and again, we've still let you search, we still got the trust. Now, I'm going to talk about scrolling right and left and categories here for a second. When on a phone, and again, we've tested this, when you've got like things, you scroll right to left or left to right. Okay, that's normal. When you've got different things, then you scroll up and down. So like things, like different offers, all right, are right to left, 15 minutes, good to go. All right, thank you, because I could get lost in the woods. All right, so versus on categories, where we can show you a couple things. Now at the same time, because we didn't want to have, on the desktop we had the subcategories, but you'll notice underneath each one of these we have how many products they have. Now remember I said before, category level images help, because remember the whole issue with the square pan, right? The square bakeware. Well, here's the thing. Category level images don't work as well on mobile. So that's why putting the volume of products in the categories really makes a difference, because people can look at it and go, oh, thank God I found them. I'm in the right place. Look at how many products they've got. It absolutely makes sense for them to dig down deeper in the process. And there's trust throughout. All right. Now, if we look at this one, live site versus the tactical, am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? And what am I supposed to do here? We actually answer the 3 questions on the redesign that aren't really answered well in the existing site. Here's another example. This is the before. And every e-commerce site does this. This drives me nuts, okay? So here's let me show you the women's t-shirts. Well, what if I'm a man? Or, what if I didn't want a t-shirt? Why are you forcing your damn t-shirts down my throat? So instead, let's make this about the visitor instead. And you'll notice up here, join thousands of Hungarians who rely on Dressa every day. How do I feel about this site? I feel pretty good about them, don't I? And look at this nice little trust bar here. Isn't that nice? And there's a phone number in the top right. And here, if I want women's t-shirts there, or men's t-shirts, or packs of socks, or whatever it is, right? Don't, because the other one, here's what the other one's doing. The other one's saying, we want to sell you our women's t-shirts, and I don't really care why you're here. Really? No, it's about the visitor. It's not. Now, maybe you got an extra stock of women's t-shirts, so make them first, okay, in your category, but don't just shove them down my throat. And it's the same thing here. If you look at the live site on mobile, all right, and we turn that into here. Now you'll notice here we've got the big fingers thing. So for mobile, we make it really easy. But again, join thousands of Hungarians. Thousands of Hungarians shop here every day. Shouldn't you be one of them if you're a Hungarian, right? My point being that that's a trust statement and it's a value proposition all rolled into one, right? So answers to the questions. How do I feel? Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? What am I supposed to do here? All right. So that's the different. Which one do you feel better about, right? It's pretty straightforward, in the scheme of things. All right. So questions and answers. Well, we've got some questions here. All right. And our question man is coming up. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely brilliant. I've been sending myself emails of tips and tricks for ourselves, and I asked one of the questions.
Sure.
And I've been trying, my team have been upvoting it, so I'm allowed to ask it. This is called cheating.
Okay.
And it's the top one.
I'm sorry?
It's the top one. This is, by the way, I hope you all agree, this is one of the most useful talks I've ever heard.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So much incredibly important information. Scrolling left and right for similar and up and down for dissimilar. Never would have guessed that in a million years.
Yeah, well, we tested. We didn't guess it. Well, actually, I take it back. You guess, then you test it, and then you go, "Oh, well, that was dumb. That didn't work." Or, "Yeah, that was brilliant. Look at
Yeah,
us." Yeah.
brilliant. So my question, because I've got a B2B site selling high ticket services,
Hmm.
what hints and tips have you got for us? We're not in the e-commerce space, B2B, high ticket services.
Fair enough. Well, first off, a lot of people ask the questions about selling to consumers versus selling to
Yeah,
businesses, and the reality is, in businesses, there's people there,
yeah,
and they're still selfish animals, and they've got a problem. And if the people who are coming to you are executive level, like an owner or
yeah,
CEO, they're frustrated with some problem that they're trying to solve. If they are, let's say, a marketing specialist of some type, and they're coming to you, then they're looking at, oh, I'm not doing a good job. How do I not lose my job? How do I grow this? So in a B2B site, the first things you need to do is you need to make it really clear what problem you solve, all right, what the pain points are, and how you are a safe place to be. Because the business owner and the executive doesn't want to throw money at you for no reason, and the marketing specialist, assuming you're doing a marketing thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
The marketing specialist doesn't want to lose their job, so they need to feel safe.
Mm.
And so, one of the ways to do this is right underneath your banner, which will not take up the entire screen. It has to take up just maybe the top third.
Yep.
Underneath there, you want to have visual navigation, and this is where you would test. You might have, are you a founder, CEO, president of a company? Go here. Are you a marketing specialist practitioner who's doing this? Go here. And now, remember the three questions? Am I in the right place? Hey, they're talking to me. I feel really good about this, all right? So I know which path I'm going to go down, and I'm going to feel really good. And underneath each one of those, all right, you might have something that says, join hundreds of marketing specialists who rely on, every day, join hundreds of companies, under the CEO thing. And so now you've got your value proposition in the banner. So am I in the right place? So and I know what you do. How do I feel about this site? Well, hopefully you've got your phone number in the top, right?
Yep.
And I will tell you, here's a bonus tip for you.
Thank you.
Um, what kind of services do you sell?
We optimize personal brands for CEOs and corporate brands in search and AI.
Okay, so I don't know if you've got contact or get in touch or any of that. Get rid of it.
Oh,
Instead, have a button that says speak with a brand optimization specialist or expert, because nobody wants to be sold. Okay, contact us, schedule a demo. No one wants that. Speak with a brand, and that's off the top of my head. You got to fix that to make it real. Okay,
it's
but
brilliant for off
but
the top of your head.
yeah, okay, but the concept is they want to talk to somebody who's going to add value in their life. Okay, and so underneath the calls to action, we then want to have that trust like we talked about. Now, you want to optimize your page so that even though you've got a lot more content down the page, and you can use tools to figure out what they're looking at, and there's tons of tools, anything from analytics to heat maps, but you really want to make sure that you optimize the top of every page for conversion. And again, every top of the page, am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? And what am I supposed to do here? And it doesn't matter whether it's high ticket or not. Hopefully that answers.
Absolutely brilliant. There are moments like this, and I'm sure you all agree, there's always a moment at a conference where you think it was worth the money to come and the time that I spent. And this
Thank
is
you.
my moment. Thank you. So, next question. Are there any UX tools, testing tools you recommend, or is it user testing and repeat?
So, yeah, there's lots of tools out there. So I will tell you, for the most part, we're tool agnostic, just because a lot of our clients come to us with existing tools. So whatever it is they use, but you want to have a testing tool. And so there's a lot of really good ones. There used to be, um, Google used to have Google Optimize, and then that went away, but I'm sure it'll come back. But there's things like OmniConvert out of Romania. There's VWO out of India. There's AB Tasty out of France. There's Convert, and I forget where they're from. And we've used all these tools. And the reality is, oh, and of course, Optimizely, which is one of the granddaddies here. So all of these tools are very similar. It's just a matter of pricing and which ones make sense. All right. So when a client doesn't have a tool, we use OmniConvert because we have a license of OmniConvert. And the reason we use OmniConvert is because I know the owners at there, and if something's not going the way I want it, I call the owner and go, "Hey, I'm not happy." But you don't have that relationship. So without that, any of the tools pretty much work. You also need heat map. I'm sorry, there's more.
Yeah.
You also need heat mapping tools. All right. So Microsoft Clarity is free, but people also use, you know, Lucky Orange or Hotjar. Having a heat mapping tool is absolutely critical to see where people are clicking on your site. So I strongly recommend it. Now, on a heat mapping tool, one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure that you are turning it on and turning it off, because heat mapping tools are pigs and they will eat up a lot of bandwidth and slow your site down. And site speed is a conversion issue. So when you're using it, turn it on, but when you're done, turn it off. Don't leave it on. Same thing with the testing tools. Oh, by the way, back on testing tools. If you're using something like a Shopify, if you're an e-commerce store, there are brilliant tools in the Shopify store like IntelliGems where you can do a test. And unlike the other types of tools, if the test wins, you just press publish and it becomes the new live. You don't have to recode it. So,
Brilliant. Okay.
all right.
A quick tip on Microsoft Clarity. The guy who was marketing it, building it, was saying one of the reasons they built it was to catch up with Google Analytics and try to get some of that on-site data that Google have got that Microsoft don't. So they're pushing it very hard, and it's really easy to install.
Oh,
They've
it
made
is.
it so simple, and it's free. So
Yeah.
I'm not particularly saying that's what you should use, but we did that, and it took me literally 30 seconds to install.
Yeah, no, it's a good tool.
So brilliant, wonderful. And the next question, and the best questions here, win a voucher from blank.a. And I like this question, so this is going to win one of those. For a more sensitive product service, what is better, aggressive approach or education?
And the answer is both.
Yeah.
So, because you don't know who's coming to visit your site. And so there are people who are at the top of the funnel and there are people at the bottom of the funnel. And by the way, I wouldn't use the word aggressive. I would, because you should never be aggressive. It's like, buy my stuff. Don't do that. Okay. See, that's what happens. But all kidding aside, there's people who are at the bottom of the funnel and there's people at the top of the funnel. If they're bottom of the funnel, don't make me hunt through your site going, oh, how do I site? Where's, don't do that. All right. Instead, give me options. Let me feel like I'm in control. So you could have something that says ready to speak with a financial expert. Okay, that could be the call to action. You know, looking to learn more about financial products. Both of those are perfectly reasonable calls to action on a homepage right towards the top. All right. Let me as the visitor be in charge.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. We've got time, I think, for another question. What's your opinion on too cool minimalistic agency websites with minimal content? Is it wasted property or does it show confidence? Well, I like this one as well.
You know, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. If little Johnny jumped off the bridge, would you follow?
No.
Yeah. So a lot of, and we see this on agency websites a lot. And I have to admit, you know, we have an agency website. There's things on our website that I absolutely hate and despise. Right. But they're there because if you don't do a couple cool things somewhere, people go, oh, they don't build cool. Now, once we talk to them, we convince them that cool is not the point. Making money is the point. Okay. But, you know, it takes a while. So, along those lines, just a quick story. We once had a client who we redesigned their website and it increased their revenue by $17 million. And the CEO said, I don't like it. What? $17 million. Yeah, I don't like it. I want the old website back. And we wound up without a client. But because the way it had to be cool was more important than $17 million. I would hope nobody in this audience is like that.
No, well, I would hope not. If
They
we're,
exist. They exist.
And I think, yeah, as marketers, we need to remember we're here to make money for our boss or our client, and the money is the end game, and not the visits or the beautiful website the too cool website, as
Yeah,
the
no,
person
just
asks.
because you can, it doesn't mean everything should be targeted towards the visitor. It's about the visitor. It's not about cool. Sorry.
You, not me.
Yeah.
So, what are the two AI tools you use professionally the most, and how do you use them?
Okay, well, now this is actually a little different in that we've been using AI tools for probably about 12 to 15 years now because conversion rate optimization has had personalization and AI under the covers for quite a while. So if you think about personalization and all of that, and all of the tools, a lot of the major tools have that. So when you're looking at Optimizely or VWO or any of those, they actually have AI under the covers to do some of the analysis and to know what's winning. But I don't think that's the question that was really asked. The question that was really asked was probably what are the standard tools that people use? Well, we have a subscription for everybody in the company for ChatGPT, and we've created our own GPTs for everything from email follow-ups and evaluating websites. So when a prospect comes to us and they want us, we do free evaluations for somebody. So we look at their website, we give them, we spend 30 minutes, we tell them what to do and the changes to make. And after that, we run it through a couple of our tools and we send them a really nice email with things. And we do that for free because we believe what goes around comes around. But we use ChatGPT in that process because otherwise that would bog us down beyond belief, right? And so we have put into our knowledge base everything from the book I wrote to all the content we've got through all the previous evaluations we've done. And so that's where that comes in. Our developers also use it to check code and so on. We use it for ideation. We do not use it to create content. Other than a first draft, because we don't use AI content on anybody's website, including our own. So we use it for that kind of ideation. Now, personally, above and beyond that, I use Perplexity. And so we pay for all these tools, right? So and there's a couple others we use, but I use Perplexity because I was so tired of ChatGPT hallucinating that and some days Perplexity is off in the woods, and some days ChatGPT is off in the forest. And so when I get frustrated with one, I can switch to the other, and we can move on. So it just depends on which one's having a bad day.
And it was Perplexity that got it right about you.
And there you go. There you go.
We like Perplexity.
Yeah.
At Calicube, we use Perplexity when we're trying to write the initial draft of a
Yeah, same
description
thing.
for a
Yeah,
corporation
yeah.
because it generally gets it pretty right.
Yeah.
Okay, another question then. We've still got another 3 minutes, I believe. So
Yeah.
we say that the human is a fish. After maximum 9 seconds, we can lose their interest. Is it better to have multiple CTAs or just longer content pages?
So you want to have CTAs at the top and in the middle, and it's basically having another bite at the apple. If you're think about it this way, if you do something nice for somebody, it's okay to ask for something in return, right? And that invokes the principle of reciprocity, which we've talked about before. So if I'm providing really high quality content, so you can have a really long page, I'm completely okay with a really long page, as long as you know most people aren't going to read it. As long as at the very top of whatever the page is very conversion oriented. And for those people who really want more and go down, the structure of a page, any page, is as follows. What is the page about? Call to action, trust. Navigation to other sections potentially, more detail, calls to action, trust. Another area might be more detail or detail on a separate thing, all right? Call to action and trust. And the calls to action can be different through the process. But you can have multiple calls to action as long as you're not being the used car salesman, as long as it's not call. If I'm not, I don't want to see call to action run into each other. I want to see a lot of content. And then I've earned the right for call to action. A lot more content. I've earned the right for a call to action. All right. But you can have multiples.
I think that was brilliant. Thank you so much.